Starting from this session, we will be discussing about strings. So this chapter will be covered in 4 video sessions. In this video, we will study introduction to strings. In the next video, we will see string operations and string traversal. In the third video, we will study built-in function and string handling. And as always, the last part, we will have many programs related to strings. Okay. So now we are going to start with the introduction to strings. We have studied about strings when we studied different data types in previous chapter, right? And string was listed under sequence category of data type. So what is a string? It consists of one or more characters. Now what can be a character inside a string? So here you can see characters can be any letter, it can be any digit, it can be a space, or it can be any special character like hash, @ exclamation mark, dollar, ampersand, right? Anything. So every button that you see in your keyboard can be converted to a character. Now the characters are represented with Unicode values inside Python. So that's an encoding scheme just like ASCII. So when you press a character, the corresponding value, that is a Unicode for that character, will be read by the Python interpreter, and the interpreter understands the particular character. Now a string can be enclosed in a single quote, it can be enclosed in a double quote, or it can be enclosed in a triple quote. Now I have used the triple quote for writing comments in the previous chapter, right? So you should understand, even though it was represented as comments inside those programs, actually they were strings, right? But as it was not assigned to a value, it was just excluded as comments because memory is not allotted for that. And then the program continued with the first statement after the docstring. Okay, so now let us continue. So this is the example of string. Okay, so here I have 4 variables: str1, str2, str3 and str4. Now into the first variable I am trying to enter a string which has some characters inside it, lens learn, and it is enclosed in single quotes. This is a legal way of inputting a string into a variable, right? You can also use double quotes, so this is also allowed. A string can start with 3 single quotes and it can also end with 3 single quotes, right? A string can also start with 3 double quotes and it can end with 3 double quotes, right? Now we use the last 2 types of string input when we have to enter multiple lines as input. So if I have 5 sentences and you have to convert this entire 5 sentences into a string, then you can give 3 double quotes and you can end it with 3 double quotes. So this entire 5 lines of characters will be taken as a string. So we can see the next 2 examples, string 3 and string 4. We actually copy 2 lines of characters into this variable, right? So here you can see lens learn, comma, welcome you to learn Python will be stored into this variable called string 3. And for the next variable, string 4, again the same content, lens learn, welcome you to learn Python will be stored into string 4. If you want to check the value of string 3 and string 4, you can use print statement, right? You can just use print str3. It will print this entire 2 lines. So now we go to the next slide. Now when you are working with a string, you should have a clear understanding of indexing, because by using indexing you can access one single character inside a string at a time. So indexing, you can see here, it's a technique used for accessing each character inside a string. Okay, so the first character in a string will be available at index 0. So you should be very clear with this. Always the index starts with 0 and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And the last character always have index n-1, where n is the length of the string, because we are starting with 0. So now if the total string has n characters in it, then the last character will be available at position n-1. Okay, so that's pure max. So when we see the example, you will understand what is the concept of this n-1. Now, negative indexes can also be used to access the characters inside a string. Now the negative index goes from -1 to -n. Now index should be an integer, so this is very important. You cannot give index value as 2.5 or 1.3. Right, these are floating point values. It is not allowed. It should be always an integer, but it can be positive, it can be 0, or it can be negative number. We don't have a problem. And we have an inbuilt function called len, which will actually find out the length of the string that you give as input for this function. Okay, so now let us see the example of all of this, and then it will be clear to you. This slide talks about the example of indexing. Okay, so here you can see the string that we are considering is this, lens learn. So now let us understand how many characters are there in this string. So L is the first character, then you have E, that is the second character, then N, then Z. After that you have a space. Space is also a character. It has a separate Unicode. So that is the fifth character, which is a space. And after that you have the next L, that is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now my string has a total length of 10. Okay, or for example, my string has a total length of 10. You can say the length is n, so the total length is 10. Now let us talk about the indexing. So as far as with indexing, it always starts with 0. So the first character L is available at index 0. The next character is available at 1, then 2, 3. Now the space is available at 4. After that, the next L will be 5, 6, 7, 8, and the last character N is available at 9. So now you should understand the index value ranges from 0 to n-1, because you see the value of n is 10. So it ranges from 0 to n-1 is 9. So that is what you can see here. Okay, now the same thing is represented in this box. You can see here L, E, N, Z. Then this is your space character. Okay, so even though there is nothing to print, you should understand it has a Unicode value and it is seen as a character inside the string. Okay, then you have LEARN. So the positive indices is what we have discussed now. Okay, so the indices starts at 0, 1, 2, 3 up till n-1, so it goes up till 9. Now we can also work with the negative indexes to print the string. Now you will be confused, like already I have positive indexes to print the string, then why we require this negative indexes? Right, see, sometimes if you know how to work with negative index, you can reverse the string just by providing the negative indexes, and for some questions you can write really smart programs if you know how to work with the negative indexes. Now the negative indexes is very simple to understand. The last character of the string is represented with -1. Okay, you cannot give 0 here because 0 is already used for the first character in positive indexes, so you cannot use that there because it will confuse Python. So 0 is already used, so I have to start with -1. So -1 represents the last character in the string, -2 represents the character before the last character. It goes all the way back up till -10, which represents the first character here. So here you can see the length of the string is 10. So as far as negative indexes is concerned, it ranges from -n to -1. So you can see there is a small difference, right? The positive indices range from 0 to n-1, right? But negative indexes go from -1 to -n, not n-1, because here you see it goes from -1 to -10, but positive index goes from 0 till 9. So that is what written over here. The positive index range from 0 to n minus 1. Negative index range from minus 1 to minus n. So please take a note of this. Multiple choice questions can come by changing the logic and to confuse you, right? Now we go to the next slide. So here we have a program just to print the value of string based on index values. So we are picking the characters from the string and we are printing it. So the last two lines I have commented here. Why? Because it will give error, right? So when we run the program, we will remove the comment and we will see what's the problem. So we have a string called len_set. Okay, so I have a variable str and the content of variable is len_set. So the index value 0 points to L, E comes in position 1, N which comes with index value 2, and set comes with index value 3. Now if you work on the negative value, minus 1 will point to set, minus 2 will point to N, character E will be available at index minus 3 and character L will be available at index minus 4. So now let us start the program. So first the string len_set is stored into the variable str. So the first print statement, it will print the length of the string value stored inside variable str. Okay, so this will print value 4. Right now the next print statement, it is trying to print the character available at index 0. So here you can see the character available at index 0 is L, so here it will print L. Next you are trying to print the character available at index 1, so it will print E. Next print statement, it will try to print the character at index 2, so N will be printed. And the next print statement will print the character available at index 3, so set will be printed. Now this print statement will not give any error. So first it will add 1 and 2 together, so value 3 will be generated here. Now string 3 will print character set again. Now the next print statement, this print statement will give error. You are trying to print the character available at index 4. You can see this string doesn't have an index 4, right? So you are trying to print something which is not available. So in this case, you will get an error. But sometimes in the question, they can change this 4 with minus 4. Now in this case you can see minus 4 actually points to L. So in that case this is not an error. You will get the output as L. Okay, so be careful about that. Now the last print statement also will give error. Why? Because I have given a float value in the place of index. So that is not allowed. You can give only integer values over there. Right? So now let us run this program and see the output. So now our program is ready. I'll just execute it. The first print statement is actually printing the length of the string str. So here the variable str is storing the string length, and you can see here it has 4 characters, right? So the length of the variable str is 4 because it has 4 characters inside it. And now you can see str0 will print L, str1 will print E, str2 will print N, str3 will print Z, and the last print statement is also str3, right? Because 1 plus 2 will evaluate to 3. So again Z will be printed. Now I have commented the last 2 lines because they are going to give error. So first I will uncomment this print statement. Now I will save the program. I will execute it. And now you can see I got an error because string index out of range, right? Because a positive string index stops at 3. Now I am trying to print 4, which is undefined, right? But if I change this to minus 4 and I save it and I execute it, this will not give any error because minus 4 is pointing to L. You can see L is printed out. Now the last print statement I will uncomment. I will save the program. I will run it. Again you will get error, right? Saying that the string index must be integer. So that's a mistake you have done. You have made it a floating point number, which is not acceptable. So now let us go back to the program. Now here we are going to work with negative indexes. So when you want to work with the negative indexes, start from the end of the string, okay? So the last character will have index -1. The character before that will be -2, then -3, and the first character L will be available at -4. And first I am going to print the length of str, so this will print 4 because this string has 4 characters inside it. In the second print statement, I am printing the character available at -1, so this will print set, -2, so this will print n, -3, this will print e, -4, this will print L, and if you try to print -5, that will give error. Okay, so now let us run the program. So our program is ready, let us run it. So you can see it is printing in one line because my print statement are ending with a space. Okay, so we are printing set n e l. So I just reversed the string. You can see the actual string is len set. I have printed set n e l, and the first print statement prints the length of the string, which is 4. Okay, so now if I copy this print statement again and I paste it and I try to print the character available at -5, if I save and run the program, you can see again we will get error because there is no character in variable str at index -5. Okay, so you should be very careful when you apply the index values. It should always point to the characters inside the current variable. Okay, otherwise your program will give you error. Now this program will work properly if your program actually have another character here. For example, if I give a, so -5 will be now pointing to a, so this time your program will work fine. Okay, so here you can see set NEL and -5, the last print statement has printed a. Okay, so depending on the length of your program, you have to identify what are the correct index value to extract the character that you want. Okay, so now let us continue to the slide. Now this is the last program for this video session. Now this program is to demonstrate that string is immutable. What you mean by immutable is that you cannot change a string once it is created. So the content of the string cannot be changed after it is created once. So that is why it says it cannot be changed later. Now error will be shown if you try to change the content. So I have just commented these 3 lines, that is 1, 2, and 3. We will discuss these 3 lines when we run the program. Right now we will just stick to the 3 lines which is uncommented. I have created a variable str and lensLearn is stored into it. Okay, so this is our string and it is stored into a variable str. Now I will print str3. So what will be printed? So here L is having index value 0, E is having index value 1, N is having index value 2, and Z is having index value 3. So if you print str3, it will print out value set. And after that, what happens in this line? I am trying to assign a new character S to str3. So what I am trying to do, I am trying to delete this set and I want to write there S. So the string should become LENS LEARN, but this line will give error. Why it is giving error? Because string is immutable, right? So once a string is created inside a variable, you cannot change individual characters. So now let us run this program and see the output. So our program is ready. Let me run it. So now you see you're getting an error. Okay, at this line str3 equal to s, right? Why? Because str object does not support item assignment, right? You cannot assign value s into the variable str with index value 3 because it is already created with this character combination and you cannot change it later. Now let us go back to the slide. Now this is the same program that we have run now. I have just uncommented the previously commented lines and I have commented these 2 lines. And now let me explain to you how you can assign a new value to a string variable. So here you can see lensLearn is stored into a variable str. So what happens in the memory? It will take up a small piece of memory and inside the memory it will write lens LEARN, and there will be a variable str pointing to it. Okay, and the ID value provided to this str may be 71,653, something like that. It's random. When we run the program, we will see some number will be there. Now if you want to change this string that is being assigned to str, you can do that, right? So in this line you can see I am trying to enter a new string learn Python into the same variable str. So this will not give any error. It will work perfectly fine. So now you will be having a confusion then why we are saying string is immutable, because now I can assign a new string into the old variable str. This concept will be clear when you work in the memory level. So right now this is a situation. Now when this statement is executed, you see this is a new string. So a new area of memory will be taken. Now inside that it will write learn Python, that is the new string, right? And now this variable str has to store learn Python. So what happens here is that this str will be destroyed, okay, and a new str will be created that will be pointing to learn Python, and it will have a different ID value, something different than 71,653. Now you will have another doubt, what happens to this lens learn? So now Python understands there is no variable which points to lens learn. So Python will just delete this memory unit also. It will be freed. But if another variable is pointing to it, then it will be kept in the memory. You can actually assign a complete string into the same variable, but in this case the old variable is destroyed and a new variable is created. So still I can say string is immutable. So you can assign a complete string to the same variable, that is allowed, but if you try to change one character, for example this O to I, then it will give error. Okay, so that is the essence of this program. Now with this we'll wind up this session. So we'll continue strings in the next session. Bye.